Hey, so we've made it through Easter. That used to be a really difficult time for me. I think whether you restrict or whether you binge or whatever your characteristics of eating disorders are, Easter and all that chocolate and all those eggs, that's everything everybody talks about. Sugar, chocolate, rabbits, the lot. Anyway, it's over. So, what can I tell you that's happened? So remember last time I was saying, oh yeah, my hair doesn't grow. I never had a fringe, but since my eating disorder, my hair didn't grow. Well, in your face, anorexia, because I got a fringe cut. And actually, I quite like it. But it's just one of those things where I've thought, do you know what? I've been fighting against it for so long. Why not just take control of the situation and go, instead of moaning and instead of complaining and saying, I don't like the way this has affected me because, well, I went with it. And actually, yeah, I'm alright with it. I'm going to have to grow this bit, but anyway, I'm fine. So anyway, back to the blog. I've been thinking for quite a while about what I'm going to talk about today, and I think it's all very well being able to talk about eating disorders and how they affect you, but what about what's going on and how you can control a characteristic or a symptom? So one of the big things I think I worried about, and one of the things that I've been talking about a lot recently with people, is when you go to bed, all those thoughts are going over and over and over in your head. So what did you eat today? What didn't you eat today? Were you sick today? Did you take any laxatives today? All the things that are playing on your mind. And if you're in recovery as well, I think it's even harder because you're constantly being told by your brain that you've done something that you shouldn't have done. So you shouldn't have eaten that, or you should have eaten that, or you should have made yourself sick, or you should have taken laxatives, when actually that's totally irrelevant. And I think the thing to remember is that it's not a rule. Who is telling you that you should or shouldn't have done that? It's very easy at the time, because I think the voice that you hear in your head, and when I say voice, you know what I mean, if you're struggling, and if you're not, if you know someone who's struggling, or your son or daughter is struggling, then it's like, imagine your conscience but 10 billion times worse. It's like an internal bully that constantly grinds you down and down and down, mentally tortures you. That's how real it is. So when you think, oh, well, I don't really understand why they don't eat, or I don't understand why they can't stop binge eating, it's that force inside you, it's that bully. If you need to stand up to a bully, it takes a lot of courage, and I know everybody says, oh, you should stand up to them, but it's not as easy as that, is it? So what I'm thinking today is, when you go to bed and you've got all those thoughts going round and round and round, write them down. So this is what I used to do. So write them down, write exactly what that is saying to you. If it's saying you ate too much today, or it's saying you should have made yourself sick today, or you should go make yourself sick now, write it down. And then underneath in a book, so like I use this one, underneath write what your counter argument would be. So it could be, who's saying that I should have eaten that, or I shouldn't have eaten that, or it could be, there used to be this, I called it the so what game. So if it said you ate too much today, answer with so what? What does it matter? Who's saying that it really matters? There's no evidence, there's no scientific evidence. If everybody else can eat, why can't you? And I know that sounds so easy for me to say right now, because it used to be one of the most difficult things in the world. I've had meltdowns over one biscuit, I've had meltdowns over a drink, whatever. At the point, it's horrendous. But actually, when you break it down and you've got an answer to it and an argument, it makes it a little bit easier. So maybe talk to someone, maybe talk to your parents, maybe talk to a friend and say, well, if someone said this to you, what would you say back? Because I think it's a lot easier when you've got someone who doesn't have the eating disorder to be able to say exactly what they would do. So if you said to someone, oh, you had a cake today, they'd probably go, and? So what? If you said to someone, you ate 10 biscuits today, they'd probably say, so what? They wouldn't go and make themselves sick afterwards, because they it's all part of life, isn't it? It's part of normal eating. Sometimes things are so good that you eat quite a lot of them, and sometimes you go, no, I'm all right, thank you. It's all part of getting to grips with what's normal and what your body needs. You're very different to everybody else, and everybody else is very different to you. You can do what you want as they can do what they want. So it's an argument. It's like a counter argument, but I think it helps if you write it down and plan what you're going to say so you can get a book out. The other thing, and I think probably the most useful thing I've ever found, is journaling. So at the end of the day, I might say, right, I'm going to go to bed 30 minutes earlier than I probably need to. And this is just my preference. I'll put a candle on, I'll have a hot drink, I'll get into bed, I'm all ready. And then I've got a journal and I'll just write down what's happened in the day and anything that's troubling me, anything that I think was a success, anything I could learn from. And I think sometimes it's a bit like going to counselling or something, but instead of saying it, you're writing it down so your thoughts get outside your head, because I think sometimes they can go on and on and on inside your head and you lose control. They spiral out of control into catastrophe, absolute catastrophe, and they do for me sometimes. And that's all part of eating disorders and anxiety and things like that. The other thing I think is like a gratitude thing, and this used to sound so cringy to me, but actually it really works. So I got myself this, which is like the happy diary, and every day you write down something that brought you joy. So there's little prompts and things, and you write a smiley face or a sad face for how it's gone. But there's also little tips at the side, and there's things you can do, and there's like, did something go wrong today? Well, tomorrow's a new day. So it's all about looking at it from a different point of view. And I think also showing that, yeah, you might have a bad day, but equally within that day, you had a choice, and there would be points of the day where you're going to think, actually, it wasn't all bad. Because I think, again, when things spiral into catastrophe, you can just write a day off. There's been days, even in the past few weeks, I think, where I found it really difficult to just get up in the morning and I just go, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this today. But you can do it. Because just because one thing's happened, and things happen, things come up all the time, and I think that's part of an eating disorder as well, it tries to steady things, when actually you can't control everything in daily life. So if you can just write down, say 3 things every day, at the end of the day, or even in the morning, that you are grateful for, that you are happy for. It can be anything. It can be achievements, it can be family, it can be anything. I think that really makes a difference, just for you to see that there are still positives in life. And you will get through this rough patch, because you've got through every other tough day that you've been through. 100%. The final thing would be, and I learnt this from a support group that I helped with, it's like, what do you call it? A happy jar. So you'd get a jar and you would have lots of pieces of paper, maybe post-it notes, and you can write things on it that make you happy. So if, for example, say the other week I went and got my nails done, and you know what, afterwards, it's a tiny thing, but afterwards I looked at them and I was just like, yes, that made me really happy, and I liked the look of them, and it was just a treat for me to go, do you know what, you deserve this. So I wrote it down as something that, if I'm having a bad day, I could go and get them done again. It could be calling a friend, it could be buying some flowers, it could be anything that you want at all, going on a bike ride, going for a swim, going shopping, whatever it is. So write down a list of things that you know, if you wake up that morning and go, today is not going to be my day, and we all do it, you can look at that list and go, well, I'm going to pick something from here that's actually going to turn this around for myself, because you're not going to get lost in it. I think that's really important. Just in front of me now, I've got some fresh flowers and I've got a candle and stuff, and it just makes me feel a little bit better. Not that today was a bad day, but I know that if it was, I could turn it around with things like that. So I think probably what I'm saying for this month is, if you wake up and you think you cannot do today, you can do today. because you've got so many tools available to you to just get through that day. And it's important to just think about that day. Don't think about yesterday, don't think about tomorrow. Just concentrate on the 24 hours in front of you, or even just the moment now, because you don't get this time again, and you should be able to argue your way out of this, because that little voice in your head is a liar. It doesn't want you to be happy. It doesn't want anything for you. But you can choose to fight against it. And I promise you, when you get to the end of that, you'll thank yourself for doing it.